Hi guys, welcome to MRK Tutorials. I hope you watched our previous part, that is primitive type versus reference type variables. We understood that number, string, boolean, null and undefined are primitive types in that video as they need less and simple memory storage. But you might have got one doubt. What is difference between null and undefined as they seem similar to each other? So in this video, I will be explaining what are the differences between null and undefined and also what are the similarities between them. Before understanding null and undefined clearly, we should know one concept in the JavaScript, that is JavaScript variable lifecycle. Yes, you might have seen in other tutorials that this JavaScript variable lifecycle is completely ignored, or they might have mentioned it in the new video or some other video in variables in a little part. But we at MRK Tutorials believe that our videos should have quality content, and that is the reason why I don't make separate video on variables till now. After this series of videos, I will release a video about variables, and you will definitely feel that this is the best approach to understand JavaScript from the core level. So let's understand what is JavaScript variable lifecycle. To understand this concept more clearly, we will assume that the memory and the code are empty from the beginning. There are three phases in the JavaScript lifecycle. Let's use a var keyword and say a variable A is declared in the line 1 of the code. Let's execute it. JavaScript engine will read the code and see the line 1 and says to the memory that variable with name A needs some place in the memory. Now again JavaScript engine again decide that since that A is just declared, the value is not yet defined in the code, let's consider it as an undefined. Since value is undefined, allocation will not be there and the variable is considered as primitive type, and this is called declaration phase of the variable lifecycle. Similarly, suppose we wrote code again. That variable is declared with var keyword as before only, and we assigned a value at the declaration only. Then the JavaScript engine will allocate memory based on the value by checking its type as primitive type or reference type. Based on that, the memory will be allocated, and this is called initialization phase of the variable lifecycle. So basically, if there is a value that is initialized, the JavaScript engine take that value and put it into that memory location, and it is called initialization. Or else JavaScript engine considered it as not yet defined, and undefined is initialized at the starting until the value is assigned to that variable, which is next phase of the lifecycle. In the next line of the code, we assigned a value to the variable. The value is present in the memory location, so we can access it whenever we want. This is called assignation phase of the variable, which is known to us. Suppose, let's assume at present I don't want that value in that variable. I want to clear that value, but later sometime I want to assign another value to it. Then I can declare the variable as null, which means at present there is no value in it. So I hope you understand that variable lifecycle in this part of video series, but this is not completely it. We still need to take scope and keyword used to declare variable into the consideration before determining the life cycle of a variable. So in the next part of the video series, you will be understanding what is scope and different keywords used like var, let, const to declare variables and what are differences between them. Then we can discuss this variable lifecycle more clearly. Let's see what we discussed till now in a JavaScript online editor in code. Now that you understood the JavaScript lifecycle of a variable, now let's see differences between null and undefined. The differences between null and undefined. Null, undefined. Null is a value that can be assigned to a variable and it presents no value. Null comes in the assignation phase, and variable is undefined if it has been not declared. So this comes in declaration phase of a variable. It is an object. So null is an object because in JavaScript everything is considered as object. Undefined, it is a type itself. Undefined is a type. When there is not yet declared, we can consider that variable as an undefined variable. Null is converted to 0 while performing primitive operations, and undefined is converted to nan while performing primitive operations. Nan means not a number. And you can see that there are similarities, like null and undefined are considered as primitive variables, as null is having much memory, though it's considered as type as an object, but it doesn't have any memory need to be allocated to it. Undefined also similarly, there is no value, so there is no need of memory to be allocated, or less memory need to be allocated. Since they don't have anything, they are defaultly considered as false values only. Here is a meme on null and undefined which can clearly illustrate what we have discussed in a single photo. By the way, credit goes to the meme creator. I hope in this video you got clarity on null, undefined and variable lifecycle. Thanks for watching this video. Please do share and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to like the video and follow all the videos coming up next in our channel for sure.